What's up, guys? I'm Jamie with your Nerd Report for July 2022. I'm Jamie Tajera, co-owner of Property Bear here in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Carrie Hustis, co-owner and sales leader. While Carrie runs all things sales, my day-to-day hunting investments and developments keeps me in two main places. In the field, checking out potential opportunities in construction, or on the computer, researching hyperlocal data. So if you're looking for insight on Jacksonville real estate, you've come to the right place. Thanks for checking out our channel, and if you like it, please be sure to subscribe. Since the last Nerd Report, we now have a podcast, so you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, and Anchor, because we realized that, like us, you probably don't have time to sit around watching YouTube videos all day. And if you do, it's probably not on real estate. So we're trying to make these, 10, 15 minutes long, and you can listen to them, on the way into work, whatever. Cover a variety of topics on those. We're trying to do them like once a week, and then we're throwing in, obviously, these nerd reports for market stats once a month. So let's get into it. First things first is kind of team news, general stuff that's going on. We've still got a lot of renovations going on. We're actively looking to buy 2 or 3 more in the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks, 4 months, whenever. We're always looking, honestly, but on the single family side, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for 8 acres plus land that we can use for residential purposes, but we're also looking for about 8 to 10 acres in St. Johns County with strong traffic frontage. Off-market, preferably. We're looking for CCG2, or in St. Johns County zoning, it's CN, and we can handle our own entitlement zoning, all that stuff. And I guess in the multifamily zone, we're not shying away from Florida, but and we're definitely still looking for anything that hits a good cap rate. We've been noticing that a lot of people, I think, are buying, some assets with lower cap rates kind of as trophies, which is cool. That's just not what we're looking for. We want that high cap rate. So right now we're considering Ohio and Indiana as well. So let's jump into sales price, and let's get into the numbers. So we broke it down into the three counties, that we're mostly doing stuff in: St. John's, Clay, Duval. Actually, I did tell someone we would add in Nassau, and let's add in Flagler too, because we're starting to buy down there. And in Volusia. So, well, now we've got too many. I can't focus. So let's keep it to 4. So from a sales price standpoint, we're looking at St. Johns County took a little bit of a statistical dip from last month, May to June. Nassau took a little bit of a dip too, and Clay County went up, and Duval County went up. I'm not concerned about this dip, and here's why. St. John's and Nassau County, if I remove the by county, let's see if it'll let me do that. You'll see that overall, sales prices have increased. We talk about this every month when we look at this data, but when you have a market that has low inventory, one sale can change the entire math for that whole county. And St. Johns County has always had, lower inventory. So, what does this mean to you as a seller? You're still in a good spot. What does it mean for you as a buyer? If you are, if you're trying to time the market, good for you. I don't recommend that. I don't think it's smart, because nobody really knows what's going on. But If you're a buyer, you're still in kind of a rough spot. We're going to get into inventory a little bit later, but things are slowing down. You do have a little bit less competition. The hard part is that all of your sellers right now have really low interest rates. So it's almost not in their best interest to sell. If they're selling, like us, we have some properties that we're selling, for flips, right? But then we have some holds that we're selling because we're going to reallocate those funds through 1031 exchanges, and see if we can hit like even higher cap rates with those, because as these mortgage rates increase, the rents are also increasing. So as a buyer, if you can lock in what that number is going to be for the next 20, 30 years and potentially even refi at a lower rate, or just keep where it's at, versus taking that chance on rents going up, you're just going to be in a better spot. So just food for thought. Right now we're kind of in the same place. I would say from a mental standpoint, properties are, from what we're feeling, they're staying on a little bit longer, but they're not selling for less. I think there's less buyers. People are a little bit more worried. But as they say, when it gets a little scary, buy real estate. So let's look at the next item is our months of inventory. We're still under 2 as an average. You've got St. Johns County. It's negligible. I mean, you can see me scrolling through each one. It's still less than 2. It's showing here like this is what a balanced market looks like. There's still not enough inventory to meet demand. If we stopped building completely, we would run out of houses in about 60 days, which is crazy. So again, if you're a seller, you're still in a pretty good spot. And if you're a buyer, things have slowed down a little bit for you. If there's not as much urgency for you, because I think the Case-Shiller projections came out and they were talking about home prices slowing down, not reversing, but slowing down to like 5% nationally. So that is a nice thing, right? There's not as much urgency. People aren't as crazy right now, so that's good. So month supply of inventory, we're still at 2 months or less. Let's go into closed sales. So we did take a dip. The thing with it, we took a dip in Duval County, but St. John's, Clay, and Nassau. The thing with closed sales, and it's an important statistic, but the only reason I don't love it is because it's a delayed stat, right? So the closed sales is showing you basically what demand was 30 to 60 days ago, because that's when those homes went under contract. Just food for thought. You're not seeing a massive change over the past year at all. Like the same amount of houses are selling regardless of the interest rate. And that over the past, quarter, interest rates have gone up. But we're not seeing it's not like this is arcing up or arcing down either way. It's kind of overall balanced year over year. So it's a thing that we always kind of think about, that whether you're in recession or not, the same amount of houses are going to sell. It's just at what price and at what under what circumstances, right? Because I remember 2009, 10, 11, nobody was buying houses. Like as a realtor, I was really young, and I was actually in the investment world at that point, in the real estate investment world. And, I was trying to convince all my friends who had no money at the time, because we're, getting out of college, to buy houses. And everybody's thinking I'm crazy, now not looking so crazy, but, 99% of realtors weren't selling a single house. And I was working for this firm, and we were buying for a fund, basically like 10 to 12 houses a month. And that kind of stimulated the housing market to come back, because those funds started buying in major markets. But again, this kind of shows you yes, there's definitely up and downs. But year over year, you're not seeing, even when interest rates were super low, and I'm not saying that from 900 to, 1,400 isn't a 500 home change. But I'm just saying, when I'm looking at this overall, it's not a massive change. The other problem with closed sales, and this is something we're seeing on the new construction side, is we've been delayed. I mean, it's kind of like a give and take seesaw, because could we have sold more houses in the past 6 months to a year, and taken more advantage of kind of the frantic market? Sure. But we have so many delays in construction. Like, it's like a whole new world for construction. It's not a thing that you can control, right? So let's go into affordability. So affordability has shot down, and it's been going down for 4 different counties. Basically at 100, it's affordable. It's considered like the median affordable range, right? Basically, we're seeing it go down, and I think it's a product of the home prices. And the way this index works, you can see it right here, right? They're basically taking the median family income and comparing that to what the average, cost is on a monthly basis for a home. The hard part about this is that, yes, is it declining? Absolutely. Are there other options in Jacksonville, outside of Duval, Clay, St. Johns County that you can go to? Absolutely, right? And that's why you're seeing, this new construction kind of spread out, where things can be a little bit more affordable. However, the thing is that in these markets, what it's not showing you is the rental rates, and rental rates are not going down either. So, the affordability aspect is not so much like, can I afford an apple to an apple? In the rental world, you can't. There's a lot less, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, single family homes for sale, right? So are there kind of more affordable rent options? Yes, but from an apples to apples standpoint, a single family home, there's not. All right, so let's look at mortgage rates. We're at 300,000 with 20% down, over 700. I want to remember what we hit every time. We're looking at like 740, 5.61. And if you are like a first-time home buyer doing 3% down on an FHA loan, you are 30-year fixed 5.7, where it was over 6% right here, kind of in the middle of June. And then now it's like come down under 6, which is good. So if you bought in June, you might want to, it's not enough to refi, but maybe start thinking about the conversation. So historically, overall, 6% still low. My parents still tell me about 12% interest rates, which is crazy because we pay around 8, 9, 10% prefs to our investors, which to us kind of feels like a hard money loan, right? On some of our projects, and we don't bat an eye at that. But my parents tell me about, I'm 35, about interest rates 12, 13, 14%, which sounds like a hard money loan, like a loan shark kind of loan. And that was for a primary home, so federally backed. So historically, they're still great. So what does this mean for everybody? I think the math year over year hasn't really changed. The only thing that's changed drastically is the interest rates. And of course you have inflation, so you're spending more on groceries, etc. So the income that you have to apply towards a house is getting squeezed. And I think people are feeling that. And I think the product of that from a buyer, seller, retail customer standpoint is buying a house kind of a luxury? Doubt is starting to creep into people's minds. Especially if they're buying their first home, second home. And I don't mean second home like vacation home. I mean second home as in like move up buyer kind of situation. And so I think people are getting a little bit nervous, so it's slowing things down. We just lost a huge buyer pool. at the entry level, because if they were qualified at 3% and they were barely over that threshold, now they're in a spot where they're not going to qualify. So from a crash standpoint, are we at risk of like real estate prices coming tumbling down? I don't believe so, because from what we're seeing, the people that own properties have low interest rates and a lot of equity. So it's not like a rug's going to get pulled from under someone, right? They don't have to sell. They're actually kind of almost trapped if it's their primary home and they have a low interest rate, because it financially is hard for them to justify selling one house with a low interest rate just to move to a higher interest rate with a bigger house, bigger payment. If they're downsizing, it kind of makes sense. They're moving horizontally. From a buyer standpoint, it's still a little difficult. I still don't think buyers are in a great position to negotiate. Are there some listings that are overpriced, and there's some room to negotiate? Absolutely. There's definitely some hubris in some of this pricing. But buyers still aren't in a great spot because, again, a lot of these sellers have low interest rates and a lot of equity. They don't need to sell it. So I wouldn't think, because of some of the headlines you're saying like, oh, it's a buyer's market now, because it's definitely not. And if you're trying to lock in that, that housing cost for yourself, I still believe for Jacksonville, prices are going to go up. Bank of England just put out their one of their predictions with an 18% increase over the next 5 years, which is pretty low on an annual basis, right? It's a little bit over 3% a year, which I think is healthy. But it's still increasing. And yes, you're going to have some markets that kind of overshot during the last 12 months. I think Boise, Idaho is one of them. I can't remember. I think Tulsa, Ohio. Toledo, Ohio, has already seen prices drop about 15%. But keep in mind that certain markets are insulated. So like Jacksonville, on a national level, they're thinking prices are going to go up overall 5% in the next 12 months. And if I had to guess on a worst case scenario for Jacksonville over the next 12 to 24 months, I don't see prices dropping at all. I think the Fed's over pushing this whole interest rate thing, and they always overdo it. Historically, they're great at overdoing everything. So what's going to happen is they push the lever one way to increase interest rates, and now they're eventually going to have to pull it all the way back. And then the opportunity there is maybe not going to be home prices, but the opportunity might actually be interest rates. And then we see this whole thing that we just did over the past 24 months all over again. So that's what we've got. The only other thing that from a news standpoint is if you are a Keller Williams Atlantic Partners agent, some of you know that we're with Keller Williams, and like the brokerage group is called Atlantic Partners. Daytona, St. Augustine, Amelia, Gainesville. I don't really know all of it. Jacks Beach, Atlantic Beach. We started KW Real Estate Investors Association. So if you're familiar with a local RIA, it's basically the same thing, except it's only for Keller Williams Atlantic Partners. The reason we did it that way is because more transactions pass through Keller Williams Atlantic Partners brokerages than through any other brokerage in the area. And it just made sense. Like, there's more real estate opportunities that pass through these doors. Let's start having a conversation about what the investment side of that looks like. And let's say that, the percentage of people that believe a crash is coming are right, then let's be ready for that opportunity, right? So hope you enjoyed this nerd report. And if you have any questions, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. Find us on all the social media platforms at Property Bear, and we'd love to work with you or work with your friends and family. Thanks for checking it out.